นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะขอนอบน้อมต่อองค์สมเด็จพระสัมมาสัมพุทธเจ้าวันนี้เป็นวันอาทิตย์ที่24เมษายน2559 We are among our international audience. We have members from Thailand. Of course, we have the two venerable from Thailand, one venerable bhikkhuni from Guangdong, China. Then we have our friends from Myanmar, from Nepal, from Germany, from United States, from elsewhere, Laos, and what else? I'm missing South Korea, Sri Lanka. Yes, have I covered everyone? Yes, so it's a big group that we are very happy to welcome them. This morning, I would like to touch on how the Western people or the foreigners, non-Buddhists, come to be interested in Buddhism. One group, they would be reading Buddhist texts. They would be reading Buddhist texts, as I suggested to our friend, that you can start with reading the text. But when you read the text enough, it will encourage you to also practice. Then another group come in. They just go straight to meditation center, start practicing. But when they practice enough, they also will be curious to start reading the Buddhist text. So these two groups eventually come together. That is because when the Buddha established Buddhism, the Buddha, right after his enlightenment, he established the fourfold Buddhist, meaning the bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasaka, laymen, and upasika, laywomen. And with these four groups of what you call the fourfold Buddhists, Buddha Bharisatsi, he did not set them up just for the beauty's sake, but he set them up with duties. The duties that these fourfold Buddhists are supposed to follow. Number one, they should study the Dharma Vinaya. They should study the teaching of the Buddha. Number two, they should practice. So that's why those who study Buddhist texts eventually will come to practice. And those who practice will eventually come to study the text. And number three, if there are outsiders could be expressing ideas which is not supportive to Buddhism. We should be able to protect. We should be able to protect the teaching of the Buddha. We should be able to say what is the right teaching. What you are saying about Buddhism is not correct. What is the correct teaching? That is our responsibility. And we realized that in the fourfold Buddhists, very few of us could really protect the true teaching of Buddhism. So that's why a gathering like this is very important, that we come to understand that it is our duty, equal duty. The monks, the nuns, laymen and laywomen. The Buddha never said, this Buddhism that I have established 2,600 years ago is in the responsibility of the monks. He never said that. And he never said that it is in the hands of the bhikkhunis. No, fourfold Buddhist, four of us together. Now, these four groups of Buddhists, they have equal share of interest. And very interesting, the word Buddha Bharisat. The word Bharisat also means company. Yes, in the modern days we use it as company, Bharisat, company. So in this company, you have four groups of people, and these four groups of people actually are shareholders. Right? They are shareholders. They have equal shareholders, 25% each. Now because of the bhikkhuni is missing in this country, so who is holding the 25% that belong to the bhikkhunis? So it goes to the bhikkhus. That is when it is off balance. So the bhikkhus actually hold 50% of the shares of this particular company. Do you see the off balance, the imbalance of the fourfold Buddhists? So for that reason, it is important to encourage to reintroduce the Bhikkhuni Sangha so that we are now balanced between Bhikkhus, Bhikkhunis, Upasaka and Upasika. The last one which actually is included in the third one is that we should be able to propagate. We should be able to propagate. Now, in the Vinaya, it is not important that you should speak English. It's enough that you know Buddhism. It is enough that you put the teaching into the practice. But with this international world, this world which is connected, particularly through this Wi-Fi and everything, English becomes very important. And in order for us to propagate Buddhism, best is through English. It's through English medium. We as a group coming here, we are very interested in practicing Buddhism and in practicing also English. Right? That's why the Venerables are here. That's why you are here. Because you come together as a group wanting to improve your English. The English is a tool. It's not end in itself. English is a tool so that we can communicate. So that the Buddhists from China can communicate to the Buddhists from Sri Lanka. So we use English as a tool. We have to realize. But this tool is important. The tool is important in this modern day, modern time. So therefore, I would encourage that all the participants in this particular group, you have to put yourself in a place where they will speak your language. That's when you pick up English very fast. You have to put yourself, you are from China, you have to put yourself out of China. Go to one particular place where they don't speak Chinese and you cannot speak Chinese to them. That's when you really have to open your eyes, your ears, your nose, everything to learn English. So those of you from Myanmar, particularly the women from Myanmar, you can come here. You can come here and just stay in our community. You will be forced to speak English because we don't speak the Burmese language like that. So I think it's very important. Fastest way to learn English is to place yourself in a place where they don't speak your language. That would be best. And particularly if you come from a Buddhist background, it is best that you are placed in Buddhist community. In Buddhist community, we are thinking of our two bhikkhunis soon after the Vasa. Vasa is the rain retreat. After the rain retreat, they are thinking of continuing their higher education. So between India and Sri Lanka, we have kind of agreed that it would be best for them as Buddhist nuns, as bhikkhunis, to go to Sri Lanka, for example, because Sri Lanka provides Buddhist context, provides social context, which is very much Buddhist. So while they are picking up their English, while they are processing their higher learning, they are also being protected in the Buddhist community. So this is how the way we think, how to improve English. At the same time, how we can take care of the road. First time when I was thrown outside of my country, I was about 18 years old. And I was sent to further my education in India. The first 3 months was really difficult. But when you went through the first 3 months, then it becomes easy. So you have to endure the first 3 months. The first month, I was staying with a Chinese family. I really feel ashamed of myself, because I was crying every day. And I chose to cry at the time when they have dinner. You feel? The host would be so uncomfortable with me shedding tears at the dining table. I kept crying like that every day. The dining time, the dinner is about the time that the sun is setting. And there is something about the sun setting and that clinging to your family back home, So, but I never questioned that I wanted to go home. So I endured the first 3 months, and that's how the practice of English was established. After 3 months, I was more comfortable. I started making friends, I started having different groups of friends, and then education became easier. So like you also, when the Buddha established Buddhism, he really was aware of gender issue. He was aware of the larger context. And he was aware that the society, Buddhist society, will not progress if it is not well balanced between the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, upasaka and upasika. And the fall of Buddhism in India, was partly because we depend on the bhikkhus completely, depend on the bhikkhunis completely. So when the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis were destroyed, removed from Indian history, the lay people do not know anything about Buddhism. So we learn from history that as lay people, you also have to have access to the teaching of Buddhism, and you also have to put it into practice. Because all of us do have suffering, all of us experience suffering. Buddhism is nothing. Buddhism does not talk about anything but suffering and get out of it. So this is the teaching of Buddhism in a nutshell. No Buddhism, no suffering, and get out of it. The whole process of Buddhist teaching is nothing but how to get out of this suffering. Yes? So, if you think that Buddhism is meant only for the venerable bhikkhus, the venerable bhikkhunis, as though you don't have suffering. Suffering is for all of us. Suffering is experienced, is felt by all of us. So therefore, the message of Buddhism is for all of us. Do not limit only to the bhikkhus and to the bhikkhunis, but it is also for each one of us how we can come out, or at least when we experience suffering, how can we lessen this suffering, and how can we do not dwell in it. When you have suffering about something, of course, you do have suffering, but do not dwell in it. Do not dwell in it, you can quickly come out of it. So the teaching of Buddhism and the practice for the training, spiritual training, is nothing but for you to recognize suffering, to see the reality of the world outside as it is. See it as it is. This body, this physical body, see it as it is. Accept it as it is. When you see reality as it is, that is when you are on the path. You are on the path. So in that sense, you don't have to be a Buddhist. My friend in the back, you don't have to be a Buddhist. If you really understand the reality of things as they are, then you are on the path. So the word Dharma is not limited. It's not limited to Buddhism. But it was the Buddha who discovered this truth. This truth has always been there. It has always been there, but it is the Buddha who discovered it, and he taught us, showed us the way to get out of suffering. So the teaching of Buddhism is very simple, very direct, very experiential. All of us experience suffering, all of us want to come out of suffering, and this is the way. But you have to walk the path. It can be proved. The Buddha had proved that he walked the path and he is now free from suffering. But he cannot walk your path. Each one of us have to walk our own path to come out of suffering. Okay?